This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Liverpool.com podcast with myself, Michael Plant, and today I'm joined by Richard Garnett as we look back at Liverpool's run of 5 matches without defeat, analyse what is behind that and how optimistic should Liverpool fans be in what has been obviously a disappointing start to the season for the Premier League champions. But before we get into all that, we've got a little word from our sponsors. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to, and the link is in the bio, which will give you 4 extra days on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in our podcast episode description box. I probably should have said so. nordvpn.com/bloodred. But yes, so Rich, let's get into it then. So firstly, if I'd have said to you, however many weeks ago it was 2-3 weeks ago after the PSV defeat, Liverpool aren't going to lose any of their next 5 games, would you believe me, and could you have predicted this run and upturn in form?
Yeah, I think I could have, on the basis of the opposition they were facing, and I hate to be a bit of a pessimist, as I took a little bit of stick from my fellow season ticket holder friends at the weekend for playing things down a bit, but I'm keen not to get too carried away. You know what I mean? If you look at the league form, well, you know, they've actually only won 2 of the last 6. So although it's obviously welcome that the run of defeats and the sign of a defeat appears to have gone away, and that's come down to, I think, a little bit more of a conservative approach to defending and staying compact, which has served the team well over the last few games. Obviously, it wasn't that long ago we were questioning whether the manager was going to stay in his job. And then we're questioning whether the star player was going to stay in his job. So it's been a bit of a weird time. But the bottom line is, I think at this actual moment in time, and in no small part to the fallout with Mohamed Salah, I do feel like the manager's position has all of a sudden been strengthened.
I agree.
Which is a good thing, of course, because he brought a league title to Liverpool and, you know, was hired to be Liverpool's manager for the foreseeable future. So obviously he needs to be doing well, and results are starting to get back on track. So the question really now is, we need to start turning defeats into draws and wins. He's got a mixture of them now. Can he keep that going and sustain it over Christmas and pick up the necessary wins to get themselves back into the top 4?
Yeah, I'd agree with pretty much everything you've said there, Rich. I think it's important to keep it in perspective. I think there's been a lot of overreactions. Look, we've probably been guilty of that at times after the first run of fixtures, saying, well, you know, Liverpool winning so well, winning a lot of games without playing well. You know, could they run away with the title? Then suddenly they were a terrible team. Maybe Arne Slot should have lost his job. And now I think we've kind of come to somewhere in the middle, and perhaps the overreactions at times haven't helped. I'm maybe doing us a little bit of disservice. I actually don't think we have overreacted too much. But in general, there has been a lot of overreaction at times this season. And look, I thought they turned the corner when they beat Villa and Real Madrid in that short space of time. And then, of course, it unraveled again pretty quickly after that. So it is important to keep things in perspective. But what I do think is that the last 5 games have provided them with a little bit of a basis from which they can build something now. I think that there's undoubtedly been an upturn in performances. And I think that there are elements of those performances, which we'll probably break it down in a minute, that are looking encouraging and that Liverpool fans should feel optimistic about. At the same time, in that run, there's actually been 2 quite disappointing defeats against Sunderland and against Leeds. So, as I say, there's 2 sides to this argument. But I suppose then to come back to it, do you think this is a bit of a corner turned, or do you think that fans need to just still perhaps not expect a downturn in form, but to just not get ahead of themselves too much?
Well, I can improve on defeats against Sunderland and Leeds because they were draws.
Did I say defeat? Apologies.
They may have felt like defeats. I know the Leeds one certainly did. But yeah, so they did get points there. But yeah, I'm wary of getting carried away, as I've sort of alluded to already. But I am also at the same time a bit more comfortable with how Liverpool are playing and are going about the work. And I think that's the important thing. They don't look as susceptible to conceding a goal as they did do. I know they conceded 3 against Leeds, and that wasn't that long ago. But until the mistake by Garnett, they were looking pretty tight in that game as well. Mm-hmm. So kind of unravelled from there, which just shows that Liverpool is still fragile, and that is an issue that they've got to try and get over. And the easiest way to do that, obviously, is by stringing results together, starting with trying to get a decent result at Tottenham on Saturday, who I can tell you I watched the Forest Spurs game on Sunday whilst I was on shift, and Tottenham were awful, to be honest with you. So it feels like a good time to play them, if I'm honest. I think that the manager's under a little bit of pressure there. It doesn't look like the fans have taken to his methods too kindly, even when he's been winning. So there's a good opportunity to try and get a win on the board there away from home, which is something Liverpool really needs. Bear in mind as well, I think United are playing Villa as well. So someone there is going to drop points, which gives Liverpool an opportunity to either gain a bit on Villa or leapfrog ahead of United there again. Yeah. They've got to do it without Mo Salah, but in a way that could be removing a bit of a burden. I don't mean as in Mo Salah himself being a burden in the way that, as a player, but I mean more of the noise that goes around whether he's starting matches or not. And it certainly gives the manager an opportunity without Salah around to look at a few different things and play people in different positions and see what works. And we saw in the last game, the fullbacks pushing pretty high up the pitch, which can work against you if you don't defend properly on the counter attack. But Liverpool's more compact shape seem to allow for that to happen, and we'll probably see a bit more of that. It'd be interesting to see that sort of shape when Jeremy Frimpong's back, and because he's someone I haven't been particularly impressed with as a fullback, but we know what he's capable of going forward. Yeah, so that's something to look forward to. But I think I'm not quite sure how far away he is, or that I don't know. Maybe that's not something we can look at. I'm sure he's going to be preferred there over Joe Gomez. Put it that way. I think Gomez was getting a bit of a nosebleed. It was that high up the pitch on Saturday, but it's an opportunity with Salah not around for players to state their claim and push on it and try and get a good run of results together. And Liverpool, I've got players missing. There's injuries, so it's not going to be easy for them. But other teams are going to be hit a lot harder by losing players to AFCON, where Liverpool have only lost one, and he wasn't even in the team the other week. So there's an opportunity there, and the question now is have they got the shape and the desire to take it? I certainly hope so.
Well, to build on 2 points you just made there, I think that Liverpool actually have a nice run of 3 games now, one against Spurs, who don't look in good position at the moment. You've then got Wolves at home, which realistically should be the most straightforward 3 points of the season. I mean, I'll say that now. I know, yeah, ominous thing to say, but and then Leeds after that as well, who definitely have actually improved of late. I've seen a couple of their recent matches, and they're definitely improving, Leeds, but still at the same time, you would expect, from those 3 games to be taken, not to say to quote Jamie Carragher, but you would be hoping to take at least 7 points from those 3 games. But and then what you said on Mohamed Salah is a big point. I think Salah has been a huge part in this run, because whether you ignore it or whether you want to whether you're a fan of Salah or not, which I mean, listen, all Liverpool fans are a fan of Salah, but this run has coincided with Mohamed Salah not starting matches. Now, listen, I think everyone thinks that he put in a really good performance against Brighton, and actually the fact that he didn't start is irrelevant because he played 60 plus minutes anyway, so he had a huge impact in that game. But without Salah in the team, and you've touched on this a little bit, Liverpool look more compact, they look more organised, and they look like a team, dare I say, with 11 players all singing off the same hymn sheet, which I do wonder at times whether that has been the case this season. So what I think, and to expand on a point you made, is in this slightly altered shape from Arne Slot. Not hugely different, but with wingers playing a little bit more inside, which I think Carragher did a brilliant analysis on Monday Night Football. Do you think that Salah can still play a significant role in that shape and in that formation?
I don't know. Is the answer? I'm not sure. And I was going to say we'll find out after AFCON. We'll find out after AFCON if he's still a Liverpool player.
Of course,
because that is not clear, is it? There has been no sort of bury the hatchet announcement, has there, between Arne Slot and Salah? All there has been is he was included in the squad against Brighton, which I think was logical, given that Liverpool had other injuries in attacking positions. So you don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face, do you? Certainly not. I think it was absolutely correct that he was left out against Inter Milan. Manager had no choice but to do that. Basically, you can't break rank in the way that Salah did and expect there not to be some sort of repercussion. But to that very point, I think it was also correct that he was included against Brighton. Played well, contributed, but did a little bit of a lap of goodbye at the end. But you can't read too much into that, can you? I just can't. I couldn't see that being the way that Mo Salah left Liverpool. It doesn't suit him, and it doesn't suit the fans either. Certainly not. That's no goodbye for one of your best players of modern times. So hopefully there's a bit of common ground that can be found between him and the manager, and whatever other external factors there are going on around the club that make him think that he's on his way out, because that appears to be what he's suggesting to me. And whether that goes beyond this season, I'd be quite doubtful of at the moment. But certainly, I would hope to see him back in January and help Liverpool have a successful season. And we'll see what happens after that. But the role he'll actually play in that will be determined, I think, by results and performances while he's not in it. Sometimes players get better in their absence, don't they? Yeah. or their stock rises in their absence, and we'll get a good chance to see that over the next 4 weeks, how Liverpool can cope without him. And I think some of it will come down to the chances created and opportunities taken, because Salah's goal record speaks for itself. And in Ekitike, they have a player who's looking confident finding the back of the net whenever he gets an opportunity. I can't say the same about Isak. So that is something to consider. Mm-hmm. And the manager wants people on the pitch who are in good form and can put the ball in the back of the net. Mo Salah's certainly one of those, isn't he? Mm-hmm. But whether that's from a starting position or not, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not sure.
Well, I think that on Saturday, it definitely felt like not a papering over the cracks, but it definitely felt like a short-term solution to, listen, let's get to Saturday. I think that Slot's words, the messages that were coming out of the club seemed to indicate that this was a decision made up until Saturday, and that the whole incident and everything to do with Salah will be continually assessed while he is away. And there will definitely be some form of decision either way, I think, in January, because Saudi Arabia have not hidden their desire to sign him over a number of years, but in the last couple of weeks, they have been really overt in the fact that they want to sign him, that they want to bring him to the Saudi Pro League. So I think if Salah wants to do it and Liverpool want to sell him, it could very easily happen. But they are two big question marks, I suppose. And then just to kind of come back to what I was saying in terms of the question posed, I actually do think that he can play a role in this team, Salah, in a slightly more inverted role, if that is what Slot wants to do long term. I don't necessarily think that Slot has just kind of stumbled upon this new way of playing and that's going to be it. He's going to stick to that methodically between now and the end of the season. I think there will be lots of little changes and kind of tinkering with the system and the formation. But Salah, if he plays like, for instance, he did against Brighton on Saturday, and his mindset is more of a team-orientated mentality, I think he can absolutely thrive still at Liverpool and still have a huge role to play over these final months of the season into next season. I think there's an even bigger question mark over that. But just to add a little bit then on this 5-game unbeaten run, you mentioned the shape, which is and the kind of little switch of tactics, which has been a huge role. I think you mentioned the fact of kind of going back to basics and a bit of more of a solid defensive approach, which has been a huge part of that as well. But to chuck another one at you that I think has been important in this run is some of the improved individual performances. Ekitike is an obvious one. I think Florian Wirtz and Milos Kerkez have improved as well. I thought Ryan Gravenberch has actually kind of pushed back to the sort of levels he was showing in the start of the season as well. And then Curtis Jones has played a really important role from midfield. So yeah, I just wonder what your thoughts are on that and some of the individual performances and form that has perhaps improved over the last couple of weeks.
Well, let's start with Garnett, who's been battered from pillar to post, hasn't he, really, from a run of pretty poor performances littered with errors that have proven costly. As you know, anyone who's played at the back knows if you make a mistake, there's a good chance you're going to get punished for it. And he certainly has on a number of occasions this season. He's looked a bit more secure with Joe Gomez in there. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe he's just been less exposed. I'm not sure. That doesn't legislate for individual errors, though. So I don't know. But it looked a little bit better. Having said that, if I was Arne Slot, I'd still be seeing what was available in the market in January to see what could be done to bolster his defensive options, because I do feel like he's probably not got enough at the moment, especially with Gomez's injury record, Connor Bradley's injury record. He said the suspension as well. There's there's a few things working against him on that right-hand side. So I definitely wouldn't rule out possibly bringing someone else in January. Curtis Jones been playing pretty well. He's forced himself into the reckoning, and honestly, I was obviously very pleased with him. I think he's linked well with Ekitike and others around him, and has tried to since he'd done his little war cry speech a few weeks ago, when things weren't looking so rosy, it looks like he's tried to take on more responsibility.
I think so.
And Liverpool really need players who are taking on more responsibility. So even though he's not necessarily one of my favourites or one of my automatic selections, he's certainly done himself no harm in the last few weeks, I think. And it's good to see. It's good to see a player like that taking on that responsibility, and because I think that breeds through the rest of the squad. So that was good to see. Wirtz as well. I think, although he still doesn't seem to be being able to nail down what we know to be his preferred position, or the one he shone in for Leverkusen, he's looked good. He's been more involved. I reckon we're going to see plenty more of him in the next coming weeks. And I'm excited to see that as well. But on the other hand, Isak, still not happening there, is it? No. I'm not quite sure. Looks rusty, not turning well, and he's definitely not got his eye in front of goal either. So still a few question marks around him. But yeah, in terms of the others, they've definitely picked up a bit, and I love Ekitike. He's definitely been Liverpool's best signing, apart from Szoboszlai. I'd say he would be Liverpool's probably second best player behind Szoboszlai so far this season. We were talking about how he couldn't leave Ekitike out. It was only like a week or so ago we were saying, well, actually, he hasn't scored since September. Put that to bed now, hasn't he? Back in the goals, looks sharp. Looks like he's going to score whenever he gets a chance, and Liverpool really need that over the next few weeks. So we managed to get a tune out of these players, as well as shoring up at the back. So that's good. And the thing in Liverpool's favour is I've said from the start of the season, they've got very good players. There's no doubt about that, and so they should do for the money that they've spent. There's no doubt over the quality of the players that are at the club's disposal. It's just been getting a tune out of them all in one go. And look, it's early days in saying they've turned the corner. I'm really very keen to sort of avoid that. But things are definitely looking better than they were a few weeks ago. And please, can we now kick on with that? Because we don't want to get back to square one again where we're losing games at will.
Yeah. I think it's always from a journalist perspective as well. It's always so much easier to cover a win, isn't it? It's just especially for us. Well, yeah. I mean, it's certainly if you're a fan, yeah, it definitely is. But just as kind of reporting wise, it's easier, I think, to highlight the positives sometimes than just jump on the negatives. But to take you back what you said about Ekitike, I thought he was absolutely fantastic against Brighton. A little bit wasteful at times with his finishing and some of his final balls, maybe, but in terms of his running, in terms of his link-up play, physically his stature he was knocking Brighton players away when he was running with the ball. And you contrast that with Isak, who looks so lightweight. He just looks like there was a couple of times in the Inter game where the ball came to him and he really needed to just flex, put his shoulders out, hold the ball up. He just couldn't do it, and I think that is a worry for Liverpool, and it should actually maybe be a worry, actually, given that all the other summer signings now seem to be picking up a bit of form, that Isak still does not look sharp, does not look good enough. And how long are we going to be talking about fitness? It's, he should be fit now at this stage. There's no excuse, I don't think, in my eyes. So that's the one worry. But in general, look, performances have got better from summer signings, from more established players. And I do think then the final thing to just add on this upturn in form, that last week in particular, the wins against Inter and Brighton, it felt like the squad was kind of galvanized by everything that had happened with Salah in that interview. Really felt that they all came out fighting and wanted to show that they were united and behind each other. And you hope from a Liverpool perspective that will continue over the course of the season into the final weeks, which I suppose then... Sorry, the final weeks, the final months of the season, not the final weeks of the season. We're not in here.
Not that far yet.
No. I'm just saying about the World Cup. That's what it is. But I suppose then just to kind of finish, Rich, in terms of this run of form, how sustainable do you think it is in the short term then and in the long term?
Well, in the short term, we've already sort of looked at the fixtures that they've got coming up, and those next three fixtures look like really winnable games, don't they? I know, obviously, we drew with Leeds the other week, but Liverpool should have won that game. They were cruising, really. I know one of the goals came from a mistake, but Leeds hadn't had a sniff until the mistake, and all of a sudden, the whole thing turned on its head, really, didn't it? Yeah. So that was a winnable game. As I said, Tottenham look out sorts. Wolves are the whipping boys, whether they like it or not. And Leeds, they need to atone for not getting the 3 points. So certainly in the short term, that is sustainable. If you look a little bit further ahead, Fulham, wow, I really like watching Fulham, to be honest with you. They are very brave on the ball and mixed results, but there's no lack of entertainment there. I mean, that game against Man City the other week was absolutely phenomenal. And then you've got...
I think they could be dragged in the relegation fight, Fulham, because there's always one team that gets just dragged down, and I just wonder whether it could be Fulham in the second half of the season.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't know.
There's always one shock. There's always one shock. Is what I mean.
Yeah, maybe that's Newcastle. They've had a mixed. Well, I'll tell you what, they're only 2 points ahead of Fulham, but Fulham are too entertaining to go down. I can't have it. No.
I don't think it will. I just think it could be dragged into that battle, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe. I don't want to look as far as the Arsenal game because that's a bit depressing at the moment. We're not ready to focus that.
Just look at the easy fixtures. Just ignore the difficult matches. They'll be fine then.
We'll worry about that when we get to it. But yeah. I think what we need to now see is, as you say, is that sustained upturn in results. And that probably really... They should be aiming for 3 wins from 3 here. They've only got one away, which is Tottenham, which is not an easy place to go. But as I say, they're not looking great at the moment, Tottenham. And so if we can keep things tight and hit them where it hurts, we could pick up a result there. But definitely the 2 home games, got to be looking at 3 points in both of them. So if we come away with at least 7 from those 9 going into Fulham and then Arsenal, they'll be in good shape. And I do think they're capable of doing it. I'm feeling positive about that at the moment. The big question comes when they get to that away game of Fulham and Arsenal. I think we'll have more of an idea there exactly where we're at. If we can get results there or not lose, at least certainly at Arsenal, then all may not be lost for this season so far. But it's a bit of a mad season, isn't it? And I certainly wouldn't like to predict where Liverpool are going to finish in it. I couldn't tell you if they were going to be top 4 outside of it. Could finish second. Surely wouldn't do any better than that. But it's a weird season. All I'm saying is it's a weird season. Yeah, it's a weird season. And I've had a right good moan through it so far this season. So we will take the positive moments as we can get them, Michael, and hopefully build on them. And we'd all like a successful Christmas, wouldn't we?
Yes. Both in terms of football and non-football. That's what we want. But listen, I think they'll have an upturn over the Christmas period. I think they'll an upturn, continue on this current level of form, and I think they'll take 7 or 9 points, and then I think they're looking at potentially quite a good position in going into the second half of the season. But I think that's enough for us today, Rich. Enough yapping from the two of us. But thanks very much for joining me, as always. And we will be back next week with the next episode of the Liverpool.com podcast. And we will see you then.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.